Welcome. This is our partner spotlight. We have a nice half hour together. We're going to do meet our guests, and then we'll have a question and answer after. Today we have with us Carol. Sorry, I'm letting people in while I'm talking. Today we have with us Carol Jazar of the Center of Excellence for Speech and Language Development. And we also have Sarah Lynch from the Center of Excellence for Physically, Intellectually, and Multi-Challenge. Both provide support to school teams and English school boards across the province. So we're going to hear more about their mandates and how they support the English school network. Welcome, everyone.
Okay, so hi everyone. It's nice to see all of you today. Like Danielle said, we're basically a service that serves the Anglophone community in the province. So there are 6 centers of excellence, which is a ministry mandated service, and we're there to support all Anglophone school boards in the province. What that looks like, before I continue, I should say we're part of a larger group that's managed as a subdivision of the ministry called the Inclusive Educational Services. So that's kind of the governing body of the centers. We work directly and indirectly with schools. We provide services and research, best practices, strategies for schools in working with the different clientele and population that we each have under our center's mandate. What we try and do, or the formula we have, is to always meet with a school team, with a professional consultant, as well as a teacher, because our goal is to, share our knowledge and build capacity within professionals. How you can reach out to us is either through the IES website, which we can put in the chat afterwards, as well as contacting any of the centers directly. And from there, we can consult with you. We'll go into detail with each of our centers, what we can do, but basically it's consultation, it's training, it's workshops, strategies, case studies. We're very flexible in terms of how to meet the needs, and we all cover a bit of different backgrounds. So I'm not sure if you're aware of all the centers, but Carol and I represent 2. There's also a Center of Excellence for Autism, for behavior management. Carol, you're going to have to help me out if I miss any. And we all work together, we network, we meet quite often during the year in terms of again, sharing our expertise amongst ourselves, and we do a lot of collaborations with school boards. So Carol just recently held a conference with the Center of Excellence for Autism, and so they did a nice collaboration there. Carol, if you would like to add anything there, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's there's also a Center of Excellence for Mental Health. That's the one that, yeah, so.
Always forget one.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah, it's okay. Continue, Sarah, or just let me know when.
For sure. So a lot of our communication or information about what we offer is either on our individual websites or on the IES websites. They're always linked together. Generally, what we do is we have our mailing list, which goes to the directors of comp services or student services in each respective school board. And then that information is then distributed to the different professionals. Sometimes, it doesn't always happen in that fashion. So we have our own mailing list as well that we try and get that information out to let you know what we're offering. And that can be a range of services. Like I said, we're trying to go back in person as much as possible. Something you should take note of as well is that there's different budgets that you can access through this governing body I mentioned before called IESMC. And specifically to attend the different types of workshops that we offer. So there's $1,500 in the budget so that you can either come and see some of our schools, meet with us, and it works for us as well. We can travel sometimes to your schools as well. I think, honestly, I think if Carol and I speak specifically more about our center, you'll kind of get a context of what we do. And then we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. We're not sure how well known we are. So it's nice to have this opportunity just to get this, to get our centers out there. And we're happy to speak with you. So maybe Carol would like to explain her center.
Sure. Exactly. Hi, everyone. Yes, good afternoon. So I'm Carol Jazar. I'm a speech language pathologist by trade. I have been a part of the Center of Excellence for Speech and Language Development since 2001. I was initially the only coordinator of the center. We are now 3. So there's 3 of us that coordinate the center and provide, as our mandate is to provide professional development, as Sarah said, consultation, all of those things to support the English language network in the province. So things that we typically do, it can be in-person professional development to school boards. And again, our target audience is the professionals at those boards. Not to say that we don't also often include teachers, assistants, wherever the need is, like we will accommodate, as long as our professionals are in attendance as well. So for example, the Center of Excellence for Speech and Language, what do we look at? So we're talking about speech, language, communication, literacy, oral language, written language. That's what we're about. That's our area of expertise. We are 3 speech language pathologists that coordinate this center. It's a larger team as well. We have input, if need be, from occupational therapists, psychologists, special education consultants. So we collaborate, we work together. And we're here to help everyone else in the province develop their own capacity, develop their expertise in these specific areas. So we have a newsletter that we put out 3 times a year, centered around speech and language development. We have an annual conference, as Sarah mentioned, which we just had last Friday. And we brought in, for example, an SLP from Boston who is autistic. And she spoke about neurodiversity affirming practices. And it was a great day. And we had all professionals there from all the disciplines. So those are the kinds of things where we're just there to let people know what's going on. We typically hold, from the Center of Excellence for Speech and Language Development, a round table, which is specific for the speech language pathologists in the school boards. So we talk about common issues that affect us all in education around speech and language. So those are the kinds of things that we can provide, that we do provide. And again, there are also individual consultations. We're going to be working specifically with Eastern Shore School Board, where they don't have the professionals on site, where we will be talking about cases. Sort of, what is our expertise? How can we help the staff at a specific school deal with perhaps a student with developmental language disorder? There's a big focus from the Center of Excellence to help our students with developmental language disorder. I don't know. I think we kind of said we'll hold questions till the end, if that's okay, after you hear both areas, unless there's something pressing that you need to ask me now. But that's just the general overview of how we function, how we are here to support. Like, that's our goal, to support everyone out there who may not have speech language pathologists in their schools. Some don't, right? Some boards don't even have any. So that's our mandate, to be out there helping everyone develop their own level of expertise in this area.
And I'll add to that just before I go into my center, but as part of our job description, I guess, is each center is represented at the ministry. So for example, on my center, I sit at what's called a table, which is basically a committee at the ministry level representing the intellectually challenged population. My colleague sits at a table for those with organic and motor impairments. Carol sits on the table for speech and language. So we're represented at the ministry level, and then we diffuse the information and share it with the different school boards, with our school team. So just so you have a context of how the information is disseminated. So my center specifically, it's a mouthful. We call it COPIM. We've recently transferred the center from Eastern Township School Board, and now it's housed at the English Montreal School Board. So we've been the coordinators for about almost 5 years now. And so my background is I'm a special education teacher by training. My colleague, one of my colleagues, Claudia DeLuca, is an occupational therapist. And we have a third member of our management team, Sophia Orfanos, who's a speech and language pathologist. So we have a diverse team because we have a very diverse population to cover. We really have a large catchment of needs, and we really do try. We're very stretched in terms of meeting all of those needs. So we have a lot of requests coming from school boards and from teachers due to, I think, the high turnover that we're all facing, whether it's at management or different positions, but we get a lot of requests for the pedagogy. So all the curriculums that are accessed for students with intellectual disabilities, they follow specialized programs. And we're also contacted for a lot of accommodations that can be made in the classroom setting or to their learning content. So our center is a little bit different in that sense, where the pedagogy kind of comes down our way. So we do a lot of training. We have different models that we're trying to see what works best, from small group, very frequent, like we're doing right now, 30 minutes, but we offer them almost every week, to try and catch everyone at different times of the day that's convenient. We've had some larger forums where we've given, standard trainings as well. And we've just hosted our first in-person workshop. So we work in different ways. And like Carol said before, we also have individual consultations where we look at case studies or very specific needs. And we give recommendations the best we can. One thing that's important to mention is that the professionals are part of an order. So their recommendations can be more, or should be more, general in nature. Whereas myself, I'm able to give a bit more of a different, I'm not part of an order as a teacher. So we just have to be careful of those distinctions when we meet with our school teams. I think that a way that we can collaborate is, speak to your administrator. If you have any knowledge gaps or things that you're interested in that you want to learn more about, I think we'd be happy to have you join in our meetings, as like Carol said, as long as the professional is there and the teachers, because we don't want to always repeat the same information. We want to build that capacity so that you can then in turn share it with us or others, or implement what you need to. So we're very open to different kinds of topics. Under my center, we support, those with visual impairments, hearing impairments, physical challenges, intellectual, with or without autism. So it's a very diverse center. I think what all of the centers are good at is, if we don't have the answer, we definitely know how to get the answer for you. So and we talk to each other. We really have a nice close-knit group now that collaborates and works together very, very well. I think that would be all for my center that I would mention at this point. But if there's anything unclear that you're not sure of, please just feel free to ask Carol and I. We'll share our contact information for sure.
I just wanted to have, the one thing that we really have moved away from, and I think it's all of the centers, is sort of the one-off, where we come in and we do PD for 3 hours and you never hear from us again. Like that's a thing of the past. We can't function like that anymore. So if we are providing professional development, we always make sure that there is some follow-up. Like maybe, we'll say, okay, think this through. Do you have questions? Try this out, and then come back to us. Was this successful? Do you have some challenges you would like to further explore? So we're not just in and out and you never see us again. Yeah. Like that's not the way professional development occurs anymore. Thank goodness, because, nobody just wants to, it's like, okay, what do I do with this? Like we come back and we relook at things. So just that's available always.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and part of the our job, I guess, is to really get to know our school teams. That's part of the process, right? And to build that rapport. And that takes time. So, we're a newer center, but I am happy to say, like Carol, we're we're involved more. We follow up. We don't just disappear afterwards. We talk about a student or a case or helping, the professional team, and then we're there to follow up and add resources and recommendations along the way. So I'm happy to be in that position now where we have, especially with Lester B. I've just come off of supporting many Lester B schools, but it was nice because we had that in and we just went with it. So I think we go based on your needs and what that's really how we kind of offer our PD is what are the needs in the network. We collect that information through various ways. Each center can have a little subcommittee of consultants or, that are get the information firsthand, that offer support. So we're always open to suggestions and trying to figure out how to best support our teams and to get the knowledge out there that needs to be out there.
Well, I have a few questions percolating, but I was going to let anyone else ask a question.
Yes. Thank you. So I have two questions. One, your newsletters, is that a mailing list or is that listed on your website? And then my other question is, do you ever do work or information sessions with families and parents?
Well, to answer the first question, that's the easy one. Yes, it is posted on the website. It's also distributed to all the school boards. I think it doesn't always filter down, but they are on the website, and the past newsletters and all of that information is there. In terms of presentations to parents, on paper, it is not our mandate to provide PD to parents. Doesn't mean that we don't. There's sort of a way around it. Again, as long as there are the school teams also present to then further support those parents, we can do that. That's sort of like the simple answer. I don't know, Sarah, if you want to
absolutely
address that.
Yeah, and even through Learn, we did a presentation recently to parents just to explain the overview of the school system services, what to expect, how to navigate. So we can be creative in how we include parents. Did you have something specific in mind, or you were just curious?
Just thinking, curious, but also, what would you say when you're speaking to parents or lay people, not professionals, not educational, what would you say some common misconceptions in terms of speech and language development? Like, what are some, when you're doing a 101 workshop, what are some key points that you find come up a lot in terms of misconceptions?
I think in general, it's, first of all, like basically, sometimes we really need to get down to what is speech and what is language. The old term was we're speech therapists, and people kind of associate that with articulation and the way our little kids say words. And it's so much more than that. So it's getting the message across. It's about language development, right? It's receptive language, expressive language, oral language, written language. How are our kids doing in that area, and where are the breakdowns? And if there are breakdowns, these are the strategies you need to provide. So I think it's kind of explaining what language is and how it's, the foundation of all learning, obviously. We start many presentations like that. Without a strong base in language, academically, you're not going to succeed if you don't understand that, the language, the grammar, the syntax, the morphology of words. So it's just kind of really saying, this is what language is. And then when we look at our kiddos with developmental language disorder, so the kids who are struggling, whether it's a mild developmental language disorder or a moderate or a severe, they still need specific strategies and interventions to get them to the next point. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And I have, another follow-up question. We're English schools, right? And so when you're looking at French as a second language for allophones, how does that factor in what you're seeing in the schools and supports that are helpful for English communities learning French?
Okay, so French second language is what you're talking about, and this always comes up. You know, there used to be sort of a lot of, well, this kid's just not cutting it in a French immersion program. They're Anglophones or allophones, and they're just not cutting it. But we know with the appropriate strategies and interventions, and when I say interventions, not necessarily from a speech language pathologist, we can be there to guide what's needed, right? But it doesn't have to be us intervening. In fact, in schools now, we do very little direct therapy. It's much more consultation, unless it's a very specific case. It's case by case. But for the most part, it's like if we give these students the right strategies, they should be able to succeed, for example, in the French immersion programs. It's no longer, oh, we've got to send this kid to an English school. It doesn't work like that anymore. There are ways. Yes, are there students who truly are just so unhappy in the second language? You have to look at it case by case, but for the most part, most kids can succeed in the second language as well.
I was going to add,
Sorry?
I was going to add something to what you said. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo. That's better. Okay. About working with parents. One way that I was a bit creative of reaching some of the parents and also collaborating with the CDA was through a special project, but I was able to wear two hats. I applied for a Israel project that focuses on first transitions, those early transitions. And so I involved our local CDA at one of our schools, and together we had parent support groups. We gave information sessions at night, but we were also working with the professionals and the teachers in terms of what are the best practices, what's needed, how do we support these families. And we've provided them with, like I said, various workshops, government resources, community resources. And I think that's something that we could really work together on, because you probably have more resources than we do in that area. And we're always in need of directing our school teams who ultimately help the parents. So it's really hard to divide the two. You can't support a school team without indirectly supporting a family. So there are creative ways. We just have to respect our mandate and be creative, I think. But there are possibilities of working together and helping the whole family. Yeah, but we all have our websites, and they're all linked to the broader IES website, so you can get all the information that way. I think what's nice, to speak to my own center, you can come, and if you're working with a child, with a family, you want to support them, we're not just going to give you the top 10 strategies of how to support a child with additional support needs. We're really going to look at the whole situation, the surrounding factors, take the whole profile into consideration. And we're quite methodical about, picking apart what's been done, what's been tried, what we need to do, what's recommended. So we really do take our time. We're not going to send you an email with, like I said, a laundry list of strategies. And I'm sure Carol's Center and everyone else works the same. We really want to understand and have something sustainable in place.
Sorry, and just also so you know, the Center of Excellence for Speech and Language Development, the website is currently being redeveloped. It should be ready actually within a week. So if you try to get to it, you may not, it might say under development, but it should be ready in about a week. And so I'm going to offer, if you really have any specific questions or want more information, at this point, you can reach out directly to me. I'll put my email address in the chat. That's the easiest way until the website is up and running. And also IES has a Facebook page.
Well, I find this a fascinating subject, and I appreciate you introducing us to it today. While we all have busy schedules, I appreciate everyone coming, and that you're offering to continue to be in touch with our network. So do look for their newsletter and their emails if you do want to follow up. Oh, and there's Carol's email. Thanks, everyone.